So we have a number of great people who are going to speak to you tonight. The first person I want to introduce tonight is Peter Batura. Peter, where are you? Would you please come up here? I think you all want to stand up when you find out what Peter did. Peter Batura is a gentleman who brought forward the motion for the plank that we have right now that anybody here can be proud of. Would you please give him a standing ovation? I've been accused of having put Peter up to this, but I didn't. Peter did this all on his own. And I want to give him credit for all of it, because we were working on other things, and I saw Peter, and he said, I got a different idea. I'm going to do something different. I said, well, do it. So he went over and he sat down at the table, and I started working away, and he went over and turned this thing in by 6 o'clock, turned in what he was writing on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over to Peter and let him tell you what happened and how this all came about. Peter?
Thank you, Larry. I'm humbled. I truly am. To be honest with you, I never intended or comprehended or even thought that something like this might happen. I truly don't understand the significance of it. I think sometimes we're not supposed to understand how significant things are so that we might take pride in what we do. Before I went to the convention, I prayed, Lord, use me as I need to be used. And all through the time up there, I was just doing what I thought was right, listening to the voice. I'm not trying to sound overly spiritual, but everybody is created for a purpose. Everyone has value. The key is finding it. And it may not be a lifelong purpose, but it may be a purpose for a point in time. And my wife is very understanding of me when I scream at the television or the radio and say, it ought not be so. And her admonition to me really was, well, do something about it. Just a little bit of background. My wife and I have been married for 34 years. We celebrated our 34th anniversary actually on the day on the 6th of June while we were in Fort Worth. And high school sweethearts. We knew each other when we were 9, got married at 10. In all seriousness, I don't deserve her, and I want to publicly say that. She is an awesome woman. As a matter of background, we've got 2 kids. Jordan, who's a Marine, he's 25 years old. He went to college, went up to UT Dallas as an artist, and last spring called us up and said, hey, there are people that are fighting and dying, and we're in a uniform, so I can do art. It's my turn.
Cool.
Wow.
And that's a call. The call to service is huge. Daughter who's 19, Molly, who's first year at Texas Tech, just finished it. I can't remember what I'm trying to learn. I told her, shit, Daddy, any school that's got guns up, it's a good school. We've lived out here in this area actually since 1976. Barbie came here from Florida and I came here from Washington State. And there's a purpose in everything. There's an absolute purpose in everything. Going to the convention was really important to me on a personal level because we've been active politically for a while in the mid to late 80s and early 90s, and then got out of it. God has timing in mind. And so went to the convention, on Thursday night, went to the hearing. I said hearing is the right word. The platform committee to testify. Had an opportunity to speak there, listen to a lot of folks, but actually before that, I bumped into Larry. And there are divine appointments. And that was one of them. No, seriously. I was walking through the exhibition hall, and Raging Elephants was doing their thing, and I'm listening to this, and Larry actually had the mic and was talking. It resonated with me. What he had to say resonated. And so after a little bit, chatted with him for just a moment, and he said, you got to check out TFIRE, and this is what we're here to do. And I said, okay, good. I got an idea. I don't think working solo accomplishes a lot. We work solo at doing things, not realizing that other people are really doing the heavy lifting, and have been in the trenches and have not given up and fought. And I think that's one of them. This is one of those situations. So congratulations to all. But one of the things that struck me as I read the platform and as I listened to what Larry had to say, and what my own heart was on the situation with illegal immigration. And it is not against any one race, and not for any one race. It is about law. It is about right. And it is about wrong. And that was in my heart. How to convince people of that. How that some people that cross the border, doesn't matter where they come from, what their home country is, they're here illegally. And how can you expect someone who's broken the law and is staying here and continuing to break the law to become a law-abiding person, a law-abiding citizen? Because their lifestyle has not led it that way. And that's just something you can't reconcile. So when I testified, saw that what happened, that vote, then there have been some things written on it at the platform committee, and how it was 15-15, and the chair could have voted one way or the other, but chose to abstain. Politics being what politics are. And then the platform came out, and I read it, and I said, okay, this ought not be so. And actually, this was only one of a number of different amendments. I started just going through the platform point by point, and so when I actually waited my turn to get into the platform line, I showed up with a file folder. And they were handwriting things in. When they would write the date on it, the time it came in, and then sign it, because it's an official document. And I had 18 pages. And the young man was very kind, and he said this is going to take a long time, and they got confused about which numbers were which. They had to be numbered appropriately. But I was in line before 6 p.m. But building it was a matter of compromise. There are well-intentioned people that sometimes do things that aren't necessarily right. And some folks can be led astray, and others are guided into what they're doing. But I felt that the first part of that platform was solid. It had a really, really good statement to make about our heritage as a nation. Our heritage. And I wasn't willing to let that heritage be cast aside. To understand there are people that are struggling in the communities, the cities and countries that they live in, and there's heartache and there's hardship and corruption and crime and drug cartels, but we still have laws. And the minority plank that came up, it was absolutely spot on. And the intent was to blend these, put them together, which were the great ideas. It's something that Republicans could agree on. Compromise, you don't always get everything you want, but can you get enough that you can stand behind it and say, yes, I'll stand up for this and I'll fight for it. It may not be perfect, it may not be everything, but you know what? I can believe in this. And so that's why, with just few subtle changes, because everything was really good. I didn't write this all on my own. I assembled it and added some language and a few tweaks here and there. But I was standing on the shoulders of the people that had come before and doing my part. There was a statement, one of the tying statements that I had in here was, in addition, with 92 million Americans not working, the labor force at 36-year low, and a lethargic economy, the United States of America can ill afford a guest worker program designed to depress wages. We have people that aren't working, that actually the amount of money they get in benefits or the things they get, it's actually better for them not to work. To just stay on the dole. We've lost the value, the nobility of work. We're told that Americans don't want to work, and that's why we need these people here. You tell somebody that wants to work and have integrity, personal integrity, and earn a living for their family and support their family, and you tell them that they don't want to work, it's absolutely wrong. And that somehow these folks that come here illegally, they're better because they're willing to do the jobs that you don't. This is absolutely wrong. So when it came time to submit the document, I thought, Lord, I've done my part. And actually, I got to tell you this. I left my cell phone on the roof of the car in the garage. And I was in line, and I'm looking at the time, and it's like 15 minutes till 6. And you have to be in line. I'm thinking, okay, iPhone 5, platform amendment. Don't know which. There was a delightful young woman whose name I don't remember. I said, would you hold my spot? If I handed you this folder, would you hold my spot? And I will run and go get the phone. Because that's my communication link. Sprinted back to the garage, the phone was still on top of the car. I got back 5 minutes to 6, I'm in line, everything's great. Choices. Right? Choices. But when it came time to follow the rules and the procedures, have it in before 6, did it the way it was supposed to. Listen to the people in the convention, the parliamentarian, what can I do, the sergeant of arms, what do I need to do? And be patient and follow the rules. For me, that's what I needed to do. And there was a peace and a calmness, actually, that I found very interesting. Because there was a lot going on, and it was like, Lord, you provide the door. You open the door, and I'll step through it. And when all of the fight was going on with the rest of the amendments and talking to different people around me and said, well, we got 2 things going this direction, and which one do we vote for, and what are we voting on? We don't know. And the opportunity came to ask a question because we were fighting over amendments to the content. And the way that I worded this, or the way that I structured it, was a substitution, which makes it a little bit simpler to pass. You're not jacking out the language, and people get kind of quirky about that sort of thing. Just one thing, one decision. I asked the chair, point of order. Can I do this as a substitution? And he thought that I was trying to introduce the amendment. And there was a little bit of an interesting conversation briefly there. I said, hey, it's okay to jump on me. But following the procedures. Is it appropriate to submit this as a substitution? Yes, it is. Great. Move to enter the motion, the amendment. But what was really interesting about it is not being part of the group or knowing who was who. Nobody knew who I was. There were a few people who were in my face. Who are you with? Hey, when you're on the battlefield, right? When you're on the battlefield. But calmly, just here it is. You can read it. And the leadership that the different groups have, and the willingness to look at something and say, is this what we need? Yeah, it's not everything, but it gets us most of the way there. And there was support for it, and I was astounded, really, to see that once people started realizing what was going on, how quickly people moved. It was a wave that went through the Fort Worth Convention Center. It was an absolute wave. A wave of justice. It was a wave of justice. The funny thing was after we got up, I introduced the amendment, and they started putting it up on the screen. There were some folks that couldn't see it in the wings of the convention center. And I was having a conversation with the gentleman next to me. He said, can they read it or something? Point of order. Could we have the secretary read the amendment to the convention? And I think that made a big difference. Because it walked everybody through. One of the chief complaints that I read about after the fact was that nobody knew what it was. They didn't have the time in advance to read it. It wasn't part of the official platform, so it wouldn't have been printed. And to have printed it out in advance and tried to distribute it would have killed the impact of it. It would have never gotten to see the light of day. God had a plan. God had a purpose. And you listen to the voice. And you don't always understand. You don't know where you fit. But oftentimes you don't have to worry about where you fit. Because He's made that plan. He's made the place for you to fit. And then came the standing or the voice vote. Wasn't real clear. Do the standing vote. And there was a little bit of confusion. And the secretary saw the vote one way, and the parliamentarian saw it another. And very wisely, Chairman Ministeri said, we're going to do a roll call. Because isn't that what we want to know? We want people to stand up and vote for what they believe in. If they disagree, that's okay. But at least have the courage to stand and say, I'm for this or I'm against it. And we had that opportunity. And as the votes were being counted, it was amazing. It was the first time I'd seen it like that. It was pass, pass, pass. Everybody's trying to figure it out. And the numbers started coming in. And I was just kind of thinking in my head, okay, is it going to go? And I said, you know what? I felt the Lord to say, it's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Don't count. Don't count. And trusting that it was going to be okay. And believing in that. So this really wasn't so much of a victory on my part. I played a very, very small role. But a role that was right for the time. And so when you have an opportunity to play a part, or you feel that there's something you need to do, and you may not really understand it, follow it and do it. Because we don't understand where everything fits. But this really fit that day. And one of the things that I've been told, and I've read a few things since, is that this may have impacted some of the other things that were going around the country. Because Texas really was being looked at as the bellwether. What happened in Texas is what was going to carry the rest of the rest. And I think it made a big difference. So y'all made a big difference for Texas and for the United States. And that's why it was a wave of justice. Because we're a nation of laws. We can have different faiths. I'm not a politician. I'm just a guy who works. Just like you, passionate about some things and get away with being vocal around my house. Well, actually not always, because sometimes we'll leave the room. But I thank you. I thank you for this honor. I truly do. And I don't understand the complexity of what has been going on. But I just take comfort in this one thing, is that I'm one citizen, proud of being an American, concerned about losing our legacy, who decided to do something. And it does take just one. Thank you.
I want all of you to understand what can happen when just one of us does the right thing. And this is one of those times when we can be very happy, we can be very proud of what has happened.